Hello, everybody, and welcome to OutRaised Voices. I am Sharon Lee Williams, your host. And if you've been here before, like I always say, I thank you. I appreciate you for coming back. And if you're new here, thank you. And I hope you come back again and bring a friend or watch wherever you're watching from. So, today's CEO is Jodene Russell. Now, normally I would do the bio up front, but I was so impressed with Jodene's bio that I'm going to read it out with her in the room. Hi, Jodene. I just wanted to say hi. I am fine. I hope you're fine too. I was so I just love the way you did your bio in first person. I'm sure people do that, but I loved it. And what I felt about it, it was strong. It was female. It was like, yeah, I am. It was like, it was an intentional I am statement without saying I am, but I loved it. So I said, let me read this out so people can hear something about you and what I'm talking about, the strong female standing up for herself. I'm Jodene Russell, a registered practical nurse, CEO of Injectables by Joe, and an ambassador for the Children's Aid Foundation. As a mother of 5 incredible, strong, and charismatic daughters, I strive to be a role model of strength and determination. I have big dreams of becoming a nurse practitioner and a leading travel injector nurse, and I'm dedicated to advocating for children in care. I'm committed to achieving these goals one step at a time, showing my children through hard work and dedication that it's not where you start, but where you finish that counts. Ooh-wee. I'm just getting started and have no intention of slowing down anytime soon. I believe in the power of perseverance and passion to make dreams a reality.
Yeah.
That is so cool. It is so strong. It's so strong. When you wrote that, did you say, yes, what is the position you wrote it from? What did you want people to know about you?
The line where I stated that it's not where you start, but where you finish, that speaks so true to me. And every time I reiterate that statement, I literally choke up because from my past advocacy, that's something that I always say, that it's not where you start, it's where you finish that's important.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. You've been in care. When did you enter care?
So my first experience was at the age of 11 when there was an incident at my home and with my dad and my stepmom, and I ran away to a friend's house because my parents were physically abusive, and I ran to a friend's house to get help, and then I ended up going into care from there, from that day on, and then my experience with Children's Aid was. It was all over the place, to say the least. I started in foster care in a temporary home, just emergency placement. And then I ended up going into a foster home in Brampton, and I stayed there for a bit.
So it's traumatic it sounds like it's traumatic being in the home with your dad and your stepmom, but leaving
was traumatic.
Is traumatic, right? Yeah. Was traumatic as well. Because this is what we know. Now you're going to some other situation that an unknown. You're leaving all that you know. So do you remember what you felt like going through that?
My parents, I will say that I have a good relationship with them now. It's taken years to get to this point. But in that moment, I felt as though I was being abused. My parents are West Indian, born in Jamaica, so we all know that the use of belts and wooden spoons and spatulas and shoes and electric cords, those things kind of are of the norm. And then,
Yes.
yeah.
And
So,
with the idea of, I was raised in a West Indian family, fostered, my first foster home was in a West Indian family, and its children must be seen and
and
not heard,
yeah,
and you don't answer back, and you don't talk,
yeah,
don't even
yeah.
think about that. So you're right. What we looked on, certainly, I come from a different era, but I thought it was abuse. I
hmm
definitely felt, but we didn't even have that
we didn't
designation.
have the right to feel that way. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, or even the word. I don't remember even hearing a word like abuse. It's just something that we go through. And to all the West Indian families out there, we're not saying that all y'all do all that.
Exactly.
We know that. That's just our experience, and we want everybody to know that that's not. We're not painting this broad stroke over West Indian families. It's just a different different groove sometimes.
Exactly.
So you go into this first home as an emergency, and you're
Yeah.
11 years old.
Yeah. And so it was a culture shock. It was a Caucasian home. There was a lot of children there, and
Adopted or foster
uh,
children as well
yeah, so
as.
we're just there for temporary placement. And I actually liked it. The foster mom, she was really nice. She had an older daughter, I believe she was like 17, 18. So I hung out with her a little bit, but I wasn't there very long. So that kind of that having to move from home to home to home, that experience was hard because I had been with my parents ever since I came here when I was 5, moving from Jamaica.
And stability. Here's the stability. Here's what you know, and now you're in an unstable situation,
Exactly. That
and
also,
shaking.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, that's right.
I wanted to mention that prior to coming to Canada, my brother and I were very unstable. My mother wasn't
Oh,
around. My dad was living in Canada. I'm doing farming in Brampton. So we
wow.
were left with whomever, and we bounced around a lot.
So you've experienced that from a young age, being unstable. Then you go. So how long were you with your dad?
So I came to Canada when I was 5, December
5.
25th, 1992. And then by the age of 11, I was in foster care. I was in Children's Aid.
Okay. Okay. I always say to youth, especially young people who have gone through that, I'm sorry for your experiences, definitely, if they weren't good. I understand how you might feel, how that just the experience at that time makes you feel like, who wants me? Why am I valuable? We don't have those language. We didn't have the language or, to say all of that, but it really
Exactly.
does shake your confidence when you you come from one situation, and in your case, you're changing countries at 5, and you're in Canada, and now you're going to another home, a temporary. Did you know it was going to be temporary, or
I
was that
didn't.
explained to you?
So they may have, but at that time, did I understand?
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, were they going to say, by the way, you're just going to be here a couple of, how long were you there?
I believe it was maybe, I wouldn't say longer than a week, a few days even.
Wow.
And that was a temporary home in Scarborough, and then I was transferred to a home in Brampton where I stayed for maybe 3 months.
Okay, so this is home number 2. Now we're in 3. We're mom, dad. We're now, the temporary home is a week. Now you're in a home for 3 months. So where can you remember, like emotionally? Can you?
Yep.
I don't want to trigger you though, but but just Because I know there are, as you know, we're serving people out there as well who have been through this and feel alone and feel that they can't get through it. But you do. So that's your story. But so you're in this home. How are you feeling at this time?
So I ended up moving in with the lady. She was Black. I believe she was Jamaican as well. She had two biological daughters, and it was myself and two other foster sisters that lived there. But I came from a home where, my parents were like my dad was a pastor. We went to church every Sunday. We always had food. We always had our needs met. And then I went into a home that we had to prepare our own food. Sometimes it was just, like maybe cheese sandwiches, something that I wasn't used to.
Yes.
And we definitely didn't have our personal supplies that we needed for hygiene.
Wow.
Things like, it was a culture shock for me, to say the least.
So that experience for you, let's just take that experience. I guess what's your takeaway from that particular experience? What is left? What scar is left, or what scar did you have to get rid of from that experience? 3 months there.
I felt I was even more traumatized at that home because the mother wasn't home often. So we were left with her daughters, and her one daughter was an extreme bully. So she would take personal belongings away, especially for me. We did not have sanitary products when we needed them. So I was leaving from abuse to coming into another abusive situation. And then of course, and I was very shy when I was a kid. I didn't have much confidence. I'm better at advocating for myself now, but at that time, I just allowed things to happen to me because that was my experience from growing up to Jamaica. You just allowed things to happen, and you can't talk about it.
So what did you do for your hygiene products? How did you manage that?
Toilet paper.
Oh, honey. Oh, wow. So in this home, how many, I know you said, but how many
All women.
foster kids? There's all women. How many foster kids are there at this time?
So I believe it was myself and three other
Teenagers?
girls that were two other girls that were foster. Yeah, we were all around the same age, and then her older two daughters.
So did you tell them? Did you say to her, "Hey, we
would ask, but we didn't get it. So, and then we would get an allowance. I think maybe it was like $10 a week, but it only went so far, right?
And did you speak to a social worker about it? Did you?
No, because at that time, I didn't really know what my options were. I didn't know I had a social worker to tell these things to, or what. Yeah, I didn't know their roles.
Yes. See that? Well, I don't want to say anything about that, but maybe they do tell you the rules. There's so many kids in care, and there's not as many caseworkers. It's a challenge. It really is a challenge on both ends, but certainly for youth going through that, it's the bigger challenge because you're in the situation. And this is the first time I've heard, I know it's out there, that of course you're not getting hygiene products, feminine hygiene products. You don't even think about that, right? That's just a given that would happen. All right. So is there another home after this?
Oh, yeah, several. But can I tell you about my first good experience in a home?
Yes, I was going to ask you about that because I know you have. How many, before we do that, how many homes were you in officially?
Oh, goodness. I can't even count.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was definitely a runner. I would run away. The ones that I remember was Kennedy Road, which was on Kennedy and Eglinton. I love that home. But my most favorite was Kingston Road Group Home. which was on Kingston Road and Midland, like around there. That was the first time that I was in a home where I actually felt loved. The staff there was a staff by the name of Michelle, Chris, like I can even remember them
Wow.
because yeah, like we had each person in the group home had like one staff member that they would go to for all of their personal needs, and they would advocate for their care plan and stuff like that. And mine was Kelly. She would literally lay in bed with me at night and like rub my hair and sing to me. And I was like 12 years old at this time, you know, things that I never had, like that nurturing. It may seem inappropriate, but we would sit on our staff's laps. Like they would make us feel as though like we were their own kids. They would come in on their days off. They took us everywhere. That was like my best experience in care.
Oh, well,
Kingston
can
Road
you
Group
explain to us what is group home? What does group home look like?
Okay, so it's a home where like you can have a number of kids living there, up to 10, 12, I believe, at a time. We had a mixed home, girls and guys living there at the same time. And you just had staff coming in the daytime and taking care of us and just running the house. We had chores. We had bedtimes. We had to earn privileges. If we ran away, we would go on lockdown. You couldn't come out. You couldn't go anywhere other than school. So no privileges. We had membership to the Boys and Girls Club. So we would go there weekly to work out, swimming lessons. We did gymnastics, dance class. We did everything. We would go to the movies weekly. We would just like
group
Yeah.
home is a home. It's not, because in my mind sometimes I hear group home is a building or it's a structure, but it's not. This is a home setting.
Yes, there's different types of group homes though, because I lived in another type, which is a locked facility. This is more so like if you have charges, if you were classified as a runaway, you would go to a locked facility where everything in there is locked up. You only get one outfit a day. No, like you can't have your shoes. It was more like an institution, where as a group home, it's meant to feel like your home.
Yeah. So is this where you want to talk about the positive experience? Yeah. Was that, okay, what's the takeaway, the positive takeaway from that?
I gained a lot of life skills living in the group home. We would cook meals, like each person had like a designated day where we would have to make dinner for the home. We went camping. I experienced kayaking, canoeing, rock climbing, tenting outside, in the woods, like that kind of stuff. I love that. You wouldn't know, but.
Oh no! I mean, you know, we can't just take the picture and assume anything. No, that's what we're here. We don't know, and for I just think you're, you know, it's amazing that you've gone through all of this and had these number of homes. And I myself have only had 2 and 2.5, as I call them. And just to see this bio, this strength, I mean, I think that says a lot. So you have 5 children, 5 girls. How is your parenting style like been influenced through care or different from your upbringing?
Wow, my parenting style, it has definitely changed over the years. The first time I was pregnant was with my daughter Asia. She was born 2005 and she's 19 now. And I was strict. I thought that was the way to be, like my parents, strict. Didn't work.
Yeah. So what did work?
I don't know.
You have to keep on experimenting. By the time you get to the last one, you got it down.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Parenting is something that it's individualized.
Unique. Yes, unique. Each child is unique, and just when you think it's, you know it, it's like, oh, and in your case, 5.
This era, though, of children is the hardest, I'll say, with the technology, with the freedom. It's hard.
Because of technology, what do you mean?
they just have access to everything. So my kids know everything.
Yeah, they seem to be younger and younger. They seem to be, I don't know if it's smarter. They are smarter in one way, but they're just more knowledgeable, and trying to control that with social media or even going to schools, because I understand that they're taking away phones in school or
Yeah.
something now. They're trying to do that to control it, but who knows? So what motivated you? Like when you saw yourself, you're now 12, you're in the second home. I know we've skipped to the children, but what motivated you to say, okay, I'm not going to let my past sort of define my future?
Okay, so it was hard. My two older daughters, I went through a horrible custody battle with my ex, and he ended up winning. I ended up losing my custody. I literally had to do everything in my power to regain it. And then I got pregnant with my third daughter, Genesis. And it was at that point that I was like, I did not want to go through what I did with my older kids. I wanted to keep my daughter. I wanted to raise her. I did not want to be considered unstable. I didn't want anyone to, because my past was always being brought up. And although it was true, it wasn't anything that I was able to control at the time. You know,
your past in what way? What do you mean? Your past
being the fact that I lived in a group home, being the fact that I was a runner, so I was always unstable. That carried on into my adulthood because I never knew stability. So it was hard for me to maintain my own place with my older two daughters. Relationships were trying for me because
you didn't trust.
Yeah, that and a lot of insecurities. I didn't have an education. I was struggling to just finish my high school, and I was already a mother of two. So I didn't have anything to just be better. When I got pregnant with my daughter Genesis, I was motivated to be different. I was motivated to get an education, and there was an opportunity that presented itself. My friend called me and she's like, hey, by the way, they're doing PSW registries at Yorkdale, you know, and it's like, I think at the time it only cost like $500 to register. And I can become a PSW in a matter of 3 months, and then I could start earning, and it was something legitimate. And I considered it. I called, but they said to me, do you know that they also offer the program in Oshawa where you live? I called Oshawa, and they had interviews the next day. I didn't even know what a PSW was.
Yeah. Oh, that's... You saw an opportunity. You said, let me check. I'm going. We'll figure it out later. I didn't know what a PSW was. I didn't even research about what a PSW was. I just knew I wanted a job. I wanted to come out of. Before that, I was dancing, and I was dancing. I was in the strip clubs. Oh, okay.
I was in the sex industry.
Yes,
and obviously wanting to be a mother and raise children and being in that lifestyle, it wasn't conducive. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I went in the next day, and I attended the entire interviewing process. I think there was like 50 people, and I was chosen. I think they chose maybe like 20. And then I did a skills test, and I passed my skills test, and then I literally started school maybe the next week.
Wow, Jodene. Wow. Wow. There's lots of wows here. So, so now let's talk about Children's Aid, because I know you're an ambassador. And how does that take you from being a dancer, being, a sex worker, being a mom, how do you get now to, is it post-secondary or yes. How do you get there?
So once I became a PSW, I wanted to continue on nursing. So I contacted the Children's Aid Foundation, And then they offered me grants and scholarships to continue my education. So I then went from bridging from a PSW into becoming an RPN.
What's an RPM?
Registered practical nurse.
And and PSW is personal support
Personal
worker.
support worker. Yeah.
So what did you have to, because you said your education, so did you have to now finish your grade 11 or 12 or what?
I didn't because I was already a personal support worker.
Okay.
It allowed me to bridge to be an RPN. So what I had to do was I had to do 1 year of like prerequisites: math, English, science, bio, anatomy. That was a huge course that I had to take. And I passed all my prerequisites, and then I went and I did 3 years of actual RPN studies at Fleming College.
Wow.
So my prerequisites were also at Fleming College, but it was like nighttime, like night school.
Yes,
so
yes. You work in the day, and yes. And
then I would go
some
in.
people do weekends and all of that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with stuff when it comes up? How do you deal with some of the old wounds, or do they come up? With 5 girls and questions and...
I have gotten so much better at that over the years. Before, I would get so angry because my kids, they want to throw it in my face. Oh, you were bad. That's why you ended up in a group home. And they don't even know the half.
Do they now?
It is upsetting. Even if you tell them, do they? Do they care? No, they're still going to spin their narrative. So now I just have to, I'm honest with them. I own it. Yeah, I was in a group home. Yeah, I didn't listen to my parents, but that's not what I want for my own children. And I try to get them to understand I didn't just not listen to my parents. I had a lot of trauma that extended from that and we didn't understand it at the time. So my parents couldn't help me, and I couldn't advocate for myself to tell them exactly all of the things that I was experiencing, from abandonment, abuse, sexual abuse, all of that.
And are you familiar with the attachment theory and all of that?
I'm not, but I'm open to hearing it.
Well, that's something you should look at, how we are attached to our I think it's our moms. I'm not really that knowledgeable about it, but being attached to the smell and the skin and all of that when you had your baby and I assume they put the baby on the chest and the smell. That's so big in terms of feeling secure, just feeling secure.
I never had that. I don't believe. My siblings would tell me, because my siblings are actually older than me, and they would tell me stories about how it was when I was a child. Apparently my mom was addicted to gambling, and and she breastfed, but I would be crying and she wouldn't come and attend to me because the addiction was most important. And so I didn't have that. I never really had like a mother. And growing up, when I made the decision to have my own kids, that's what I wanted to be for them. I wanted to be that mom that they can always count on. I wanted to be everything that my parents weren't. However, life happened and it didn't turn out like that.
But do you give yourself grace? I mean,
I know I tried my best.
But when I say give yourself grace, just understand that, as you say, life happens. We're not perfect. Stuff happens. We have to learn to pivot. And sometimes we fall. And sometimes we fail. We get up and we keep trying. And that's what I see you've done. There's no perfection, no perfect mom, you know that. But to support yourself, what do you do to support yourself, to support... this bio says, I support myself. Meaning I support my well-being. I support care for myself and love for myself. So what do you do? How do you support yourself? How do you wear that self-love?
I I try to take time for myself, like, going and getting my nails done and my hair done and things like that. But what's most fulfilling to me is continuing my education, pushing my
Yes.
business, working. I love being a nurse. It's funny to think that I didn't even know what a PSW was, never thought of the aging population. And then I became a personal support worker and I was like, yep, this is what I was supposed to do. And then becoming a nurse, I love that even more. I love getting up in the morning and going into work and seeing my residents. And I've definitely gotten more mature over the years to not take things as personal, not only at work, but also when it comes to my children and other people around me and their opinions. I am emotional, I'll tell you that. It takes nothing to make me cry, but I have evolved even in that. I'm definitely stronger.
Yeah, because sometimes we learn that other people's stories about us, everybody has a story and people create stories. We all create stories about other people when we don't know whether you're a celebrity and we assume that they're all good, or we read whatever we read on the feed, but that's not their life. They still have to go to the washroom and cry and get divorced and kids run away, all of that stuff. So when I talk about self-love and asking you what you're doing for that, because that's important to bring to your own girls, right? To show them that they have to be this bio. I am woman, because it is tough out here. And I think you're doing an awesome job. So let's talk. Let's talk about your business. I might jump back and forth. Don't mind me, but let's talk about your business, the injectables, because just before we got on, you talked about what? PMP, but let's go to the injectable. PRP, PMP.
So what I do is I specialize in Botox and dermal fillers. So fillers in your lips, cheeks, nasal labial fold. I love anything to do with beauty and just making yourself look like the best version of yourself. That's what I do to make me feel happy.
Yeah. What do you mean? Working with other people is what you
and myself.
Yeah, the results are what you like. So you work with you don't have to name but are you working in a facility, a clinic, or?
So for the last 5 years, I've done it mobile. I provided mobile services, but this year for sure, I'm definitely going to be locking in with a location. I have options. It's just I have not committed to them, but a location is a must. I recently went to England in January and I got trained by Dr. Theodore. He's all the way from the Ukraine, and he taught me how to do non-surgical nose lift, chin, jawline structures, lip fillers, the nice Russian lips, and
the nice Russian lips. Who knows this? I'm loving this. The nice Russian lips. So you're an entrepreneur, fempreneur, and all of that. All of that. You're a bad boss lady. Bad boss lady. So now let's get. Just because I want to know bones. We talked about bones and how my bones hurt sometimes. So let's talk about, for all you over 40 people or 50 people out there, this is a little bit for you. If you have bones that hurt.
Yeah. So it's a process called PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. And you inject, or you draw your blood, you centrifuge it. So you separate the white blood from the red blood, and you use the red blood and you inject it directly into your joints. And that helps with pain. A lot of athletes use it, actually. And it's using your own cells to heal.
Oh, dear. But that already sounds painful. I'm thinking
it's
needle.
Not. No, it's not painful.
It's not one of those big horse needles that they draw?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's very quick. The process is very quick.
Well, that has sounded a little bit like, I mean, I don't know if we're off topic, but it doesn't matter. This is an interesting thing. What was it? Dragon things they were doing on the
The
face?
vampire facelift?
Vampire facelift.
It's definitely the same process, except for you're using a micro needling pen to massage the blood into the skin. And that's something that I do as well.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Russian lips, y'all out there, don't write in and ask me what Russian lips are. You'll have her info. You will write into Jodene and ask what Russian lips are. I'm going to look it up. So how did forgiveness, now let's step into forgiveness, meeting well, you knew your parents, but becoming close to your parent, or at least in conversation with your biological parents now. How does that work?
So it was a lot easier for me to forgive my stepmom and my dad than it was for me to forgive my biological mom. The reason being is because growing up with my stepmom and my dad and being a mother myself now, I see that my parents, like, they literally just did not know what was going on with me.
Yes.
They didn't understand that prior to me coming to Canada at the age of 5, I had a lot of sexual abuse trauma. They didn't understand that. And I know my stepmother and the person that she is, she would have done something about it. That's just that's just how she is. She's very proactive. And they didn't necessarily have the tools themselves,
yes,
to give me the help that I needed.
Yes.
And what they could do, they did. My stepmom is very hands-on. She did not allow us to slack off in any way. And it just so happens they were just strict, and probably overwhelmed and frustrated because my dad had 5 kids that came from Jamaica, from different women, and my stepmother took them on and took care of us. And we had a lot of things that we were battling with internally, and she just didn't know how to deal, I guess,
Yeah. Well, like you say, they didn't know. She wasn't coming into it with a bunch of knowledge and
exactly.
This is how you parent. This is what you do. You have kids, you stay strict, you get them to do, but she schooling was probably a priority.
100%. Our health.
Yes.
When we came to Canada, our teeth were all rotted out of our head. My stepmom made sure we went to the dentist. We always went to the doctor's appointments. We never lacked food. Like, food was of abundance in our home. We didn't have the clothes that we wanted to wear, but my parents used to make us shop at the Bay when we were kids. So, we wore Nevada. It was definitely not what the other kids were wearing, but I come to realize our stuff was not cheap. Our parents took good care of us. We just couldn't appreciate it at the time.
I think, you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and removed from it. Now you're an adult. And like you say, you have your own kids. You look back and say, oh, they were just strict. They knew what they knew. They did what they did. Who knows what the story was between your stepmom and dad, what she's dealing with there, dealing with her own story coming up as a child. There's stories upon stories on whose shoulders do we stand, who do we learn from, all of that stuff. And we bring that forward into relationships, and you do better when you know better. Hopefully.
Yeah, when it comes to my biological mom now, I forgive her. I've come, and it's taken me years to get to this point. I forgive her. There's no more anger towards her, but I realized with her, it was just sheer neglect. She just did not take care of us. She did not care. There was an experience where I was 13 years old and I came home from care after being into care for a year at this point. And my stepmom and my dad thought the solution was to send me back home to Jamaica to go live with to go see my mom, because I hadn't seen her since I was 5 years old. And it was something that I wanted to do. But what I didn't know was that they were planning on leaving me there. So my dad bought a one-way ticket, and my siblings told me, don't go. You're not coming back. Well, I went, and I told them, I just want to see my mom. That I don't care about what anybody says about her. I don't care about the experiences I had. I just want to see my mom. I go to Jamaica. I'm there for 1 month. My dad had already left me there at this point and took my passport with him. And I'm living with my mom. And I built a relationship with her boyfriend. And then he molested me. And my mom never believed me. And she actually blamed me. And the police didn't care. When we went to the police, they didn't care. And nothing happened. And I stayed in Jamaica for an additional 3 to 4 months after that. And it was very traumatizing.
Oh, yeah. So you've had the conversation with your biological mom. Does she talk about what her situation was? Not excusing her, but in terms of helping you.
So what she said is basically that if I tell anybody, she's going to beat me. So I didn't tell because she doesn't want the shame. At the time, so the day that it happened, I ran to the neighbor's house. The neighbor came over immediately. He admitted it to the neighbor. The neighbor told me to go as I was, to go get my mom. By the time I came back home with my mom, he was there and he told my mom a completely different story. Although the neighbor was explaining to my mom that he already admitted it, this is what happened. My mom failed to believe it. She didn't want to believe it. And she basically said, if I tell anybody that she's going to beat me, I came to Jamaica to ruin her life and her relationship. I was just a bad child. Then I ended up telling my grand.
But you got back to your dad. Somehow you've come back to.
Not yet.
You're not
I told
yet.
After a month after it happened, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I told my grandmother. We went to the police station. My grandma went to the police station. My mom met me at the police station and told them I'm a child that lives in a group home in Canada. I'm in Children's Aid. I run away from home. I'm a bad child. My dad could not handle me, and this is why he sent me to Jamaica. The police basically said I'm rude and go home with your parents. And that's exactly what I did. And that night, she ended up leaving me there again with him by myself the entire night.
Okay, let's take a breath here. Let's take a breath here. And I'm sure, again, for our viewers out there, for some of you who have been experienced abuse, or this is Jodene's story and her brave story. To be very brave to show up and tell us this story, and I appreciate it so much, and I'm sure there are young women out there who appreciate it as well. But now let's get to Children's Aid and how you advocate, because you have a story to share with all these, especially young women. So how do you become an ambassador?
When I came back from Jamaica, Children's Aid was all I had, actually, because my dad bought a ticket for me to, sorry.
That's all right. Take a breath, take a breath. Just take a breath.
Yeah. My dad bought a ticket for me, and it was under the basis that I wasn't allowed to go home. So I stayed with my family, my aunts, for a bit, but I didn't want to be there. So I ran away. And then I went back into care.
Do you have a caseworker at this time? You're working with a caseworker at this time, right?
Yeah, I ran away, and I just called up Children's Aid and I told them that I wanted to come back. And then I went back into care. And then my parents signed their custody. Like, they allowed Children's Aid to be the primary caregivers.
Caregivers. Are you getting therapy at that time? Do they take? Is there?
Yeah.
Did you find that helpful? This is Children's Aid.
Yeah, I actually loved my therapist, and then I had to get a new one, and I struggled with change. I remember when I used to move around and care from one home to another. My trauma response was to wet the bed. And anytime I experienced change, that would happen, even into my adulthood. Oh, yeah.
Can I say that I wish I could give you a hug right now, but I want you to give yourself a hug. You were, and emotion is beautiful. Nothing's wrong with emoting. It's a beautiful thing. We need to do more of it. And I would say that when your children, this might be something, when your children see this with you or without you, there might be a better understanding, because so,
and you know, like I fought with myself for so many years. And I fought with Children's Aid, and I was angry, and they were trying to help me, and I wouldn't receive the help. But it got to a point where I turned 16 and I was pregnant with my daughter. And I realized that if I did not seek help from the Children's Aid and use it as a positive, that I would just perpetuate a cycle. So my Children's Aid, when I had my first daughter, my Children's Aid worker helped me apply for like independent living. And then I was able to get funding from them to pay rent, and they supported me however they could with my needs. They helped me with the first time that I applied for college. And that's why I started.
Go ahead. I just want to remind you of something, because I know it's a little hard. Two things. I strive to be a role model of strength and determination, which is what you're doing right now. You are a role model. Please see yourself as that. Truly see yourself as that, as a role model. And it's not where you start, but where you finish that counts.
I wanted to say something. You asked me why did I get connected with Children's Aid. So I've actually kept in contact with a lot of the people that I met in care throughout the years. One of my friends, we were roommates at Kingston Road Group Home, and we're still friends till today. But there was a friend of mine, I won't say her name, but at the beginning of COVID, she took her own life. She was also a resident at Kingston Road Group Home with myself, and we were friends throughout the years, and we always kept in contact. And she struggled with drugs, addiction, mental health, in and out of the hospitals. And, you know, despite everything that I've been through in my life, that was not, that was not my direction. I had my own experiences with substance abuse, but it was never anything that overtook me. I never ended up having a criminal record. You know, like there's a lot of things that could have happened. I could have turned out so many ways. And when my friend passed away, her and I wanted to do advocacy together. And when she took her own life, that was like the most awakening thing for me. Like I knew I had to do it for like the both of us. Oh, sorry.
No, please don't be. So where do you take it now? You're going into nursing. Is there, you know, when I hear this, I hear you speak, and and know that there's such a big picture out there for you that I'm
Yeah.
not sure that you've seen, but there's a
I'm
big,
told
big, big
about
picture.
it. A lot of people are always telling me, like, Jodene, you should definitely speak about your experiences
Yes.
more. And when I do, it's impacting. And understand, like, this is just a fraction. This is a
Yes,
little
I do
glimpse.
understand. Yes.
Um, there isn't anything that I haven't experienced and haven't overcome. And that's
Mhm.
why I need to do advocacy, because I need people to know that although you go through these things, it doesn't have to break you.
Mhm.
This is life and it's not perfect. You're gonna go through things. And I'm not saying I'm always strong, I'm not, but you just gotta keep going. I always try to make a goal. I always try to be working towards something. I'm actually starting my RN program next week.
Mhm.
I'm bridging from RPN to RN, and it's been a goal of mine for years since I started as a PSW. I knew I wanted to be an RPN, to be an injectable nurse, to be an RN, to be a nurse practitioner. So I don't even care what age I am by the time I become a nurse practitioner, as long as I know I did it.
All right. That is, you're going to listen back to this because I know you know yourself, but you maybe haven't heard yourself. Um, you are a role model. I want to leave it there because I think you've said
Yeah.
all that you can say and you've ended it in a beautiful way. And I just I wish you, and I know that those wishes will come true too, whatever the wishes are you have. And I will ask you one last question. If you had all the money in the world and money wasn't even an issue, what would you do? What would the goal be?
I would definitely open up a home for youth, or do something for youth. I love youth. I actually, what you don't know is my daughter moved in 3 of her friends in my house this summer, and everyone's calling my house a foster home because, of course, with those 3 friends comes, yeah, I definitely would do foster care. I'm already called a foster mom right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you how old you are, Jodene, if you don't mind telling? Well, you don't have to tell me, but.
I will. My birthday's on the 19th of September. I'll be 37.
Well, you've got such a beautiful future ahead of you.
Yeah.
And, the resilience, you have a lot of resilience. You've taken that pain, you've taken those scars, and they are badges now. Badges. So I honor you. I thank you. I thank you
Yeah.
for saying yes. I thank you for sharing your story. And I'm here, all the voices behind me, all the youth and adults and everybody saying thank you on behalf of OutRaised Voices, and thank you for speaking up.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, and I hope we have another one after
Of
you finish
course.
your what is it you're getting? Your
Registered nurse.
registered nurse. Okay. Well, I wish you well in that. I know you're going to be great, and anybody would be lucky to have you help them. And I don't know if you're going into children's nursing or whatever you're the pediatrician. Who knows? Because it just seems to me this is not the end for you. This is
No.
just kind of still you're on the bridge of life. So I love it. I love it.
Thank
So.
you.
Thank you, Jodene. Be well, be well. Make sure you put on your mask first. You know that saying, take care of
Yeah.
yourself, because others need you, but you need yourself. You need to hold on to all of that. All right.
Thank
So
you.
stay blessed, and we'll talk. Thank you,
All
honey.
right.
All
Have a
right.
good day. Bye.
You too. I don't even know what to say. I want to thank Jodene again for just showing up bravely and unapologetically, and I hope you've heard her voice and listen for other voices out there that may be going some experiences similar to that. We are in community, and remember, your journey matters, your story matters, your voice matters. Until next time, I thank you. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would really love to hear from you. Email me at info@outraisedvoices.com or Sharon Lee Williams at outraisedvoices.com. Who knows? On a future episode, you could be the CEO. Remember, your voice matters.